welcome to Creative Blog. I'm your host, V, and I interview people in creative industries about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam. We ask people on Twitter, and now we also ask people on YouTube and Patreon and Instagram. We're everywhere. If they have specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts. And today we have Jeff Liu. Hi!
Hello.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm here.
I feel like I've never said your last name out loud, so I don't know if I said it correctly.
Oh yeah, it's Liu. I sometimes you can say Liu, but yeah, I don't speak Chinese, which I wish I did. But there's different pronunciations of it, like Lao or Liu or I don't know, Liu.
Oh really? And what's
Yeah.
how did your dad's side of the family pronounce it?
He just said Liu, but I think if it's Cantonese, it would be Lao. And yeah, he was Hakka descent, which is like kind of like a southern Chinese minority.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, I just say Liu because it's easy to say.
Yeah.
I'll learn Chinese one day.
Is that really on your bucket list? Because you've learned a ton of stuff. Your life,
I would like to. I would like to. I'm intimidated by the writing system.
Yeah. But you've learned Japanese.
I'm
like
learning, yes. So I feel like it wouldn't be impossible to learn Chinese as well, but
because you've learned a little bit of like the what is it called? Hiragana. No.
Yeah. Kanji.
Yeah, kanji. Kanji, yeah, that's the one. And that's borrowed from Chinese.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, it's kind of like Chinese is the Latin of like the other Asian languages, where it's like it's like the root.
Yeah. yeah. That's really cool. But you were born and raised in California, correct?
Yes, I was actually born in LA.
Oh, really? We're in LA.
In Hollywood, actually.
Wow.
But then I moved up to the Bay Area for most of my life. And then I moved back to LA for Cal Arts and eventually for working in the industry at Cartoon Network.
And I like to ask the question, like, basically, kind of when was the moment when you decided, okay, I'm going to pursue this career, and kind of like what, rather than any other career in drawing, for example, or any other career period?
I think I realized that I wanted to do animation like in high school when I started learning to animate. I started on Newgrounds, as some of your other guests have as well. Like I learned how to use Flash. That was basically my introduction to animation. Like I liked to draw a lot when I was like in elementary school and middle school, but then once I realized that you could animate, I was really interested in that.
So you've always had more of the animator brain than the illustrator brain. I feel like
I agree with that. Like I don't actually feel super confident in my just normal drawing ability. Like if I'm just drawing a single picture, but if I'm making pictures move, I feel like that's what comes more naturally to me.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like I always say, like, you know, like when I talk about board artists, I feel like there's always like there's two kind of board artists. There's like either the animators that are more like kind of like into the movement of it, but less about like the actual drawing of it, and then there's more like the comics / illustration people that are more into the finished drawing than like the rhythm, pacing, animation side of it.
Right.
So you're more like them. And I think it's really cool because we don't have to talk about music right now, but we are going to talk about music eventually. But I do feel like animation and music is very like similar in a way. I don't know if you would say that.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I like to think that they're both time-based mediums. So if you simplify it down, it's all just making artistic decisions over a length of time. And for animation is you just draw a picture and then take a picture of it and then time it out, which is a lot more time consuming than just like pressing a key on a piano.
Yeah.
It's still like you're doing a physical thing in time. Like I like to think of it all like it's the same thing. I don't know if that is I don't know if people would agree with me, but that's how I make sense of it. I don't know what this thing I just drew is.
A little horse with shoes. I love it. It's really cute.
Thanks. I'll try to draw Steven. I haven't drawn Steven in forever.
I think you know what what happens to me too sometimes when like on the show they're like draw something Loud House and I'm like I haven't drawn Loud House in like a million years. I don't remember what the characters look like. So you were like, okay, I really like animation because I was drawing on Flash and I was posting my little animation on Newgrounds.
Yes, Newgrounds.
Did you find a crowd on Newgrounds, or how was your experience on Newgrounds? Like,
I think I had a fair amount of success for like just a random teenager posting stuff on Newgrounds. Like, I got like, what was it called? Daily feature or something.
Oh,
like,
you got one of those.
Yeah, like I made my really cool edgy sword fight film. It's called Mask. Which,
really?
I don't know if did I ever show that to you?
I don't think so.
Oh my god, yeah,
it's so funny.
I used to have like such a visceral like embarrassment reaction to sharing it with people, but now I'm like, it's time to be free of that.
To be fair, I also had one single animation that got a daily feature.
Oh, nice.
It was one of the Pico days.
Oh, I didn't know that you did Newgrounds too.
I did, but I wasn't very successful on it, and that one got attention, but I don't know, it's just cringy for a lot of reasons I don't want to get into. Okay. And so I deleted my account. You can't find it.
Okay.
I don't know if for you it's like it's just the art style or what it was, but I think for me it was just like very not like, I don't know, that it was just very immature in a way that now could be seen as problematic.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of problematic stuff on Newgrounds.
yeah.
I remember.
You know,
that was just like normal back then. That was just like when people made stuff, they're like, I'm gonna make something offensive, haha.
Yeah.
And that was just what people did.
I know, and I feel like, you know, and I feel like, yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like there was a feeling of like, oh, nobody's gonna look at this anyway. Like nobody. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I kind of feel like that too. Like it was like this weird, like the internet wasn't actually real. It was just this like, like you didn't feel that there were consequences to you actually like existing on there.
Because at the time, like there was pretty much nobody I knew at all in real life that spent time on the internet because there was no social media. So I felt like nobody spent time at all online, you know? Yeah. Even most of my friends in high school barely were on AIM at all. Like they had an account, but they weren't on it at all.
Yeah, it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
And now everyone's always on the internet.
That's so funny. Well, what was your username? No, I don't want to out you.
It was a reference to Invader Zim.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Not your real name. Good. Wow. People are gonna be there. We're sending people on a little what is it called? Wild goose chase, I guess.
Oh yeah. I mean, people can look it up if they want. I don't know.
No. You don't want to force you. It's so interesting though. It's what did you put in your CalArts portfolio? And how many schools did you apply to?
I only applied to CalArts.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
My plan was that if I didn't get in, I would just go to community college until I got in. Like I would just try again if I didn't get in.
Honestly, that's not a bad plan. I mean, I know a lot of people for Gobelin tried 5 times to get in, so that's what they did. Actually, that's a very common way of applying to Gobelin in France. So
Oh.
that's a good thinking.
Yeah, my mom wasn't a fan of it though.
Mm.
um, but it worked out. I was lucky enough to get in. What did I put in my portfolio? Lots of life drawings. I think I put also in some animation that I had made. So, cause like I started doing Flash, like sophomore year of high school, I think. So I had enough time to kind of learn some fundamentals. So that actually I think was a good kind of head start for me getting into CalArts. And then also once I was doing like assignments, like I kind of like, it's like, oh, I've made a thing move before. I kind of know how to do it.
That's so crazy. That's so cool. Like, do you feel like, okay, that's a question, like that's very much a question kind of for me almost. Like I feel like I had that experience also of animating online, posting stuff without really thinking about it. And then when I got to school, I felt like all of us, I had that weird feeling that everything I used to do before was wrong and that I had to forget everything that I had ever done on my own up until now. And then I was kind of floundering in animation. Do you feel like you felt that way, or do you feel like you were just like, oh, I can just keep doing the thing I've been doing this whole time?
I felt that I was comfortable with animation, but then I was learning that my drawing skill was not that strong.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a weird feeling. Yeah.
Like like drawing in perspective and drawing like a model sheet, or like drawing
Yeah.
like with volume and stuff. It's like I could kind of fake it, but then I was coming up short when I was trying to like draw as well as my classmates. But I was more comfortable animating, I think, than some of my classmates, just because I was used to doing it from Flash.
Yeah. Were you animating on paper?
Yeah, paper.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Back in the days. I wonder, do you know if they still animate on paper in CalArts?
Actually, I don't know. I wonder if they do. They probably don't.
You taught a little bit there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
That's so crazy. I keep forgetting that you taught there. That's so cool.
I also can't believe I did that.
Oh yeah.
I was also working at Cartoon Network at the same time.
That's crazy.
And I was like not that much older than the students.
How does that feel? Like teaching kids that are like pretty much almost your age?
It was cool. I felt like very like excited to share like the inspiration that I felt when I was learning. Like I had a really good first year animation teacher that made a big impact on me. His name was Mike Nguyen, Vietnamese Nguyen. And like he was really like passionate about sharing the fun of animation, and like just the simplicity of like creating life and how beautiful that was, you know. And like I was like, oh, I remember how inspiring that was. I want to share that with new kids. Hopefully they'll be inspired.
That's really cool. That's awesome. I feel like that's the best way to teach. Yeah.
But I think I was also a little bit like like trying to do a thing I didn't really know how to do, which was be a teacher. Or like,
oh yeah,
I learned a lot from trying to teach about like what it's like to stand in front of a group of people and try to act like you know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it can be kind of stressful, honestly, like trying to embody that confidence.
Oh yeah.
Like, because like I feel like students can tell if you're nervous, and then they stop like listening to what you have to say. It's hard to like just like put on that act of like, I'm a super, like everything I say is right and you're gonna learn so much from me.
I agree. I feel like because I was thinking about that today, because for people listening, I'm just gonna give a little bit of goss.
Uh-oh.
It's unrelated to this episode. It's only related in the fact that there's teaching involved.
Okay.
There is this Eisner Award thing going on right now. It's basically like the Emmys for comics. And one of the people nominated used to be like the chair of comics and illustration in SVA.
Okay.
And his name is, I forgot his name. Woodruff Thomas? No. Jim Woodruff? Anyway, people who are listening to this who have attended SVA or currently enrolled in SVA know who I'm talking about. And worst case scenario, you can just Google the Eisner Award drama. And one of the component of the drama is that he was like he was kind of teaching with a component of fear, which was basically like, there's like these teachers that are kind of like, you don't know what you're doing, and criticizing.
There were some teachers like that at CalArts. I remember.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Like it's more old school. I feel like that was like another generation, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's just what they were taught.
Yeah.
But it's kind of it doesn't work on everyone.
Oh, absolutely not. And that reminded me of like when I taught for a short minute in France right before, because I was like, oh, I need to like get all these credits to get my visa and everything. And I was like, oh my God, was I like that? When I you start thinking like, what was I doing when I was teaching? And it's cool to hear that like you always kind of had an idea that you wanted to inspire. That was your driving force, right?
Yeah, I wanted to, I think, share the best sides of my experience of learning. Like whenever I felt like, oh, this class is really benefiting my life, like that was a good feeling. Hopefully I can recreate that for the students. Yeah, and I disagree very strongly with the like learning through fear thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it only works with like a very small percentage of like a very specific personality type.
Yeah, I know some people who I think thrive in those environments because they're like, bring it on, I can take it.
Yeah. But I wonder also maybe if it's like rooted in trauma somehow, but
Yeah.
So how long were you in CalArts as a student?
I did the whole 4 years. And I think it was worth it for me because I learned a lot, I think, in my 3rd and 4th years about like how to do my own thing. I'm trying to build towards what I think is an interesting story about my experience of getting rejected from internships.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think may be beneficial to share with your listeners, yes. Which is like, in my 2nd year, I applied to the Pixar animation internship, and I was rejected. And like that, like it made me feel bad. I felt bad because I had friends who were like getting into it, and I was like, oh no, I'm not good enough. Yeah, my self-esteem was Family Guy. My self-esteem was linked to my performance and to the reactions that I was getting from people with my art, and then that was like a rejection that made me think, oh no, I'm not worth, I don't know, like feeling like I matter as a human or something. Which,
no, that's very true. I feel like what you're pointing out is something that a lot of artists feel. Like a lot of our self-esteem is tied to our work, and that's very dangerous because I don't know how hurt you were, but I'm guessing probably a lot.
Yeah, I think it had a lot to do with my inner psychology, subconscious insecurities and stuff that a normal human takes an entire lifetime to even notice. And then I don't know how to draw Peter.
It's really hard.
I'm just like copying your drawing. I just know he has this chin.
For people listening on Spotify, it's just Jeff and I are trying to do the prompts, and someone asked for Peter from Family Guy, and
is he wearing glasses? Does he have glasses?
He does. I cheated. I have it pulled up on my browser because I'm like, I have no clue.
Oh.
And he doesn't even look on model, even with a reference. So anyway,
I'm giving him the wrong hair. What was I saying? Yeah, the whole self-esteem thing being tied to art. I mean, like you could write a book about that, like how why do we do this? Why are we seeking approval through our art? But anyway, the point I was trying to make was I didn't make it into that Pixar internship in my second year, and then I also did not make it in my third year.
Oh wow!
And I was feeling like no. But then like that kind of gave me the freedom to like experiment with just doing what I like to do.
Oh, that's really interesting.
So where I was like, I just wanted to make a film that like felt like my student film in my fourth year that was just fun to make.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I made like a music video essentially with music that I wrote, and it didn't have a story really, which was like, it's kind of a no at CalArts.
At CalArts, yeah.
But I had fun, and I learned a lot about how to animate from making it, and it worked out because I got an internship finally after my fourth year at a company called Jib Jab.
Yes, Jib Jab.
Yes.
I feel like Jib Jab was such a I don't know, like a, what's the word in English? Like it's such an important studio that fostered so much talent.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, a lot of really talented people ended up there, and like I think people were able to go there, and they were able to be we were given the freedom to be ourselves creatively.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that was really a really great first working experience for me. That was my first like job making money.
Oh, because was it an internship that turned into a job?
Yes. Did I get paid for the internship? I think I did. Or did I? I can't remember. Oh my god. That was 2011. 12 years ago.
Wow.
That's ridiculous to think about. But the internship was over the summer, and then I ended up getting hired full-time in the fall.
Nice.
And I was doing I was an animator.
Yes.
And I worked on a lot of e-cards, like doing animation of like just like Happy Father's Day. Here's a funny cartoon about a dad, and you can put your face on the dad, or you can put your dad's face on the dad. So I animated a lot of these weird headless like bodies like dancing around. I think
that's so funny that you were animating all the headless stuff. That's what it was. Yeah, like I forgot which episode was on Creative Blog, but somebody mentioned like exactly these cards and how there's like the face that you can just put the picture in, and it's, but the animations were really cool.
Yeah, there were some really fun ones. Like the Halloween ones were fun. One of the Halloween ones, there's live action footage that we shot on a blue screen, and you could put your head on my body. I'm like a pumpkin. But yeah, that was like my first professional gig. Yeah, and then I ended up on Steven Universe after that, which was really exciting because I got to do characters who had faces again.
So tell me a little bit about how you went from Jib Jab to Steven Universe. Were you applying? Did you get noticed? How was that how did that transition happen, and at what time of the show, like, did you get hired on season 1?
I got hired at the very start. So I worked on the first episode.
Wow, that's crazy.
Although they had been working on some of the like not episode 1, Episode 1 is called Gem Glow. They were working on a few other ones before I started, but Gem Glow is the first episode I worked on, and then that was the first official episode of the series. So I got on it because I took the test, the storyboard test that was being sent out around when was that? Oh my god, 2012. I think it towards the end of 2012. I gotta check out these prompts. Hold on. There's one that I wanted to do, from my friend Kiku.
Oh yeah.
Kiku says, "Hi Jeff, it's Kiku. Please draw something that makes you happy." And I was trying to think of like, what makes me happy?
Oh, she sent you like down an existential spiral.
I know. I was like, what is happiness? No, and then after I thought I had to, it took me longer to think of something that made me happy than I thought it would. But something that really makes me happy is this drawing of the character Bimbo from the cartoon Bimbo's Initiation.
I don't think I know that cartoon.
It's from Bimbo is from like, you know, Betty Boop.
Yeah.
Bimbo is Betty Boop's dog.
Wow.
But,
wow, he's so cute. Okay, I've seen him. Okay.
But there's this one drawing from the cartoon Bimbo's Initiation where he's dizzy, and he's off model. But I love this drawing. It makes me happy. It definitely makes me happy. Cause like his ears are all long, and like his shirt is like tucked up in a weird way. Like, it's just funny.
If you're listening on Spotify, definitely check out this amazing drawing of Jeff drawing Bimbo off model. It's a really good drawing too. Yeah, we were talking about how you worked on Gem Glow, but also kind of like how like so you said you took the test. How did
I get it?
Yeah, did you apply for the test?
I was lucky enough to be recommended for it by a friend who was an intern at Cartoon Network at the time that the test was being released or being sent out.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, someone you should have you had him on this? Colin Howard, my friend.
Colin Howard. No, I have not
Howard.
had Colin on the podcast. Definitely want to reach out.
Yeah, so he was interning at the time, and I think he recommended me, and then I took it, and they liked it, and then they hired me. Which I think I had taken a test for Adventure Time.
Oh yeah.
Before then, and I think I did not get that one. So I was like, oh man, I guess Cartoon Network doesn't like me.
You know what's funny? I've felt that way too, because I've taken the We Bear Bear test twice, and I did not get in.
Oh damn!
Like both times, they were just like, you don't get it, which I think is true. I'm not the right humor for bears, and it's really interesting because, yeah, I could see how you're more Steven Universe than Adventure Time though. Adventure Time, especially on early seasons, was more like random is not a good word, but like more just quirky, I guess.
Yeah, quirky, cartoony, weird, silly, non sequitur.
Yeah.
There's like a very unique brand of Adventure Time strangeness it's beyond just like haha so random. It's like it's like seemingly random but also extremely thoughtful.
Yes.
It's challenging to capture that feeling.
I agree. Whereas like I feel like Steven Universe was a little bit more traditional sense of storytelling that was more like emotional, right? I don't know. How would you describe it?
Yeah, absolutely. A very emotional show. The interesting thing about working on Steven Universe actually was that I never really thought of myself as a storyboard artist.
Oh, interesting.
Like I think more of like an animator. Like I wanted to be an animator, like at like a feature film studio or something, like Pixar, which I never got accepted to.
But did you animate in 3D? I've never seen you do 3D animation.
I didn't.
Okay.
But I had friends who were 2D people who got in, and like they learned 3D there.
Interesting.
So I was like, how come they're good enough and I'm not? So no, it's because I'm not good enough. But I don't know, or like I don't know, like if Disney still did 2D animation or which they didn't, so I don't I don't know what I was thinking. Or and I really like, I like anime and stuff. I like cool, well drawn 2D drawings moving around. So yeah, I guess when I was at CalArts, I put most of my energy into learning how to like make stuff move and like spacing, like drawing drawings in betweening them and like timing them out and stuff like that was what I felt most confident at doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the I guess the experience of working on student films at CalArts that gave me storyboarding practice, so I wasn't like totally unprepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finally hitting that like trying to think and draw and talk at the same time challenge.
Yeah.
Of like I was like
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm just like listening to you, so it's easy for me because I don't have to talk.
Nice.
But yeah, like I do agree though. I do feel like, I mean, when you watch a bunch of movies and animation, and I don't know, were you a comics person? Did you read comics
I wasn't actually huge on comics, like
or manga or any?
or not even manga. Like I didn't
Oh,
even read that much manga.
interesting.
Yeah, I was mostly into just animation, like moving stuff moving.
Hmm.
What I love to do is to like take a scene that I thought was cool and then just pause it and then like
Oh yeah.
frame by frame look at all the drawings.
Yeah, you're a real animator. You have the animator brain. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know, I mean I just love those drawings that are like like most audiences probably won't even see, but maybe they'll feel on a subconscious level of like a funny in between or like a really pushed like breakdown pose or something.
Hmm.
I like seeing how people do that, and then like if you do it, it really makes your animation like stronger,
Mm-hmm.
even if people can't appreciate it or
Yeah.
no one will ever notice it. But like the end result is just like, you know, someone feeling emotion from the story that's being told through the animation, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, but that makes sense though. Like, well, you had a strong sense of story because I feel like CalArts is very story driven. Like they do teach a bunch of story stuff. I feel like that was the thing that was missing in Gobelin. It's like we barely had any story classes, so it was kind of
Ah.
like, I don't know. I felt very unprepared with anything story.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Gobelin is very animation driven. It's like
Right.
very much an animation school.
Well,
So
that's why the Gobelin films are like just unbelievably beautiful. I can't believe how good they are. Like they're just so good. And I would always feel like how is this possible?
Well, first of all, you have a team of people. Well,
Oh,
I
that
mean,
helps,
you
I'm
know,
sure, yeah.
yeah, there are reasons. It's not just people, you know. I don't know. I mean, there's some extremely talented people too. There's some friggin' geniuses that are so
Right.
good at animation that I was like, I'm not gonna be an animator. That's not gonna be my career path. I was like, I'm gonna do story. So yeah, and so how long did you stay on Steven Universe once you got the task?
I was uh I was on Steven Universe for all of the first series up until the movie, Steven Universe the movie, and then after that I became a storyboard supervisor on OKKO.
Oh yeah, that is so cool. Yeah, I remember that after Jeremy Polgar, right?
Yes,
I
those
think
are
that
massive shoes to fill, but I took on his storyboard supervising role after he left.
I think that's really cool because you both are animators, but you have a very different. I'm gonna get Jeremy on the podcast eventually. I
Oh
love
yeah,
Jeremy.
he would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, he was my director on Thundercats Roar. He was awesome. So he's very anime sakuga kind of guy. But I feel like your style is a little bit. It's funny because you're a little bit more inspired by like traditional cartoon a little bit. It's not like you're. I don't know how to describe your style of animation, but it's not rubber hose. But it
Yeah, I
has
think
a little. You're
I
more that than anime.
mhm. Yeah, I do like I think the CalArts stuff I learned about animation was more in the uh like traditional 2D Disney kind of like full motion kind of style.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried to do like a blend of it where it's like I like to use limited drawings and weird timing like
Mm-hmm.
threes and stuff, but I do maybe more in betweens than sometimes you would see in anime.
Yeah. I think you just have more stretch, squash and stretch in your in your animation. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's
maybe.
probably, I think that's what it is. That makes it a little bit more organic in a way.
Yeah, I think I mean it depends on the job I'm doing too, because I've done a few jobs that were like anime styled or actually actually worked on some actual anime. Can I talk?
Yes, please talk about that because I remember that, and some people have asked about it too. Please talk about, first of all, how you applied for these jobs or how you got the jobs, and then how it was like working the jobs.
Yeah, they were through Yada, Studio Yada.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
I was contacted by Jake Gans, who is in charge of stuff over there, and he was just looking for artists to work on. There were two anime productions I worked on through Yada, which were like collaborations with another. I don't even know how this stuff works. Like animation, like I think it was like the studios were outsourcing to other studios, which were outsourcing to other studios or something.
Oh
um,
yeah. Oh, that happens a lot in
yeah.
animation, especially, yes, especially overseas. I think I can tell a quick little story
Uh huh.
about this. I don't know if I've told this story on Creative Block yet, but when I was working on this French show, Marcus Level, the animation was supposed to be done by a Chinese studio. And
Oh.
because in France, a lot of the time, the overseas studios they use are Malaysia, China, and maybe, maybe like Vietnam, like Southeast Asia at least.
Oh.
Um, Philippines, maybe.
Hmm.
I think Philippines is too expensive for France. But anyway, so but then they eventually they had to visit the studio, see how everybody was doing, and they like at first they were kind of like skirting around the issue a little bit. They were like, oh no, let's just go see all these amazing sites that we have to offer here, which is true. There's a lot of great sites to see in China. And then eventually they're like, no, we want to see a studio. And it was like, people were like pretending to draw.
Oh,
And they're like,
interesting.
what's going on? And they actually sent all of the work to a North Korean studio.
Whoa, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
because it's like super, 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 super cheap to do the animation in North Korea. And so they broke the contract because they were like, no, you guys were supposed to do it, not anybody else. So it's very common for studios to outsource that way.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's probably kind of what was going on with
Yeah.
me getting involved. But it was really a fun experience. Learning how their production like pipeline goes. I started learning about the whole like Genga
Oh
process.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Genga is the Japanese word for like keyframes, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's actually quite remarkable how many steps they have to create going from like rough animation to a cleaned up like finished image. Um, it of course depends on the production, like how many steps they can go through and how many times they can like check a drawing and like correct it. But it can be really meticulous and like kind of like open my eyes to like how much crazy work. Like I already, of course, everyone knows how hard it is to make anime, but like, yeah, it's really hard. It's crazy.
It's really hard. By the way, for listeners listening to this episode, check out Ken Naruto's episode. Ken is half French, half Japanese. He's worked in Japan for pretty much all of his career, and it's a very, very technical episode about how animation works in Japan. And so if you're interested in that, definitely check out that episode. I just wanted to give a quick shout out
Oh,
because he
nice.
talks about all that.
I
Really,
have
really
another I
cool.
have another recommendation for another YouTube channel by this artist named Dong Chang, and he
Mm.
has a really good
I just stumbled on one of his
Okay.
videos recently.
Yeah, he
Really
does a
good.
really just like clearly explains the Genga like process, how it goes from layout, rough
Yeah.
animation, like there's directors who like multiple people look at the rough layout and then like make notes on like, oh, change the design here, we want to change this pose here, and then the next step is second key or nigen, and then like then that goes to another round of corrections by directors, and then it goes to dolga, which is the like final like cleanup and in betweening and coloring. So yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, his channel is really awesome. I think he kind of blew up recently because he did a very quick video about like doing a blink the anime way and doing a blink the Western way. It's really
Oh
cool.
yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that one. That's a good one.
yeah. It's pretty short and sweet. Uh, yeah. So you did two of these. How much time did you spend? How were your shots? Like, were they like complicated?
The,
How long were they? Was
the
it?
first one I worked on was for Digimon Ghost Game, which is like the um is it the most, is it currently airing still? I think it, yeah, the turnaround's really quick from like animation to like air date. So I think it's, I don't know if it's still airing, but I did a really short scene for that of a character just like standing up. So that was,
Mm.
it was pretty easy. And I worked on it in Clip Studio, which I didn't really know how to use, which was challenging for me because I mostly use Flash or Adobe Animate as it's called now.
Yeah. Had you used Clip Studio before that
That was
job?
that was my first time actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was like, yeah, just kind of like Clip Studio has a really like complex layer system that I, or it's complex to me because I just haven't learned how to use it yet. But
Mm.
yeah, that was hard. But luckily my scene was easy. And then the second anime gig I did through Yada was for the Urusei Yatsura like reboot series that came out this year, or was it this year or last year? You know, it's the Urusei Yatsura reboot series, and that was like four-ish cuts, I think, and they were considerably harder than the one I did for Digimon. And I actually did those ones in Flash. I just did them in what I want to call it Flash, but it's called Animate. Um, so the interesting thing is you can do layout and even like Nigen, like cleanup animation in whatever software you want, or on paper or on digital, because it all gets basically traced and redrawn again at the Doga final stage.
Mm.
Can't remember how long I spent on them, but it was pretty long because the character designs are very detailed. There's just like so many like lines, hair, highlights, little things, and then the characters are also volumetric,
Yeah.
like they're well drawn, so it's you gotta draw good.
You gotta draw
You
good.
gotta draw good.
No, yeah, it's true. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
one thing that I'm like, I think, yeah, anime is just so daunting because like I feel like anime is like it's like literally animating a comic book. Like the
Yeah.
designs are so intricate, and I don't think there's any Western show as intricate as anime. I'm trying to think if there's a single one I can come up with.
It depends on.
Probably the closest would be those like Robert Valley type of shows, like
Oh yeah.
Tron, Uprising, or maybe Motor City. But
Oh yeah, Motor City had a lot of interesting like those black like
yeah, and it has a
design
lot of
shapes.
lines. But it's all in like, I mean, it's a mix. It's like an in between. It's like it's half symbols and half drawn, so it's not
Hmm.
as, I don't know. I mean, it's also hard to animate these shows, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's the closest thing I can think about.
Yeah.
Maybe. Drop, drop in the comments in the video if you can think of any intricate Western anime show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm actually really curious. Yeah, that's really cool. And I mean,
I
is it
worked
okay
on
for?
one. I worked on one more anime job, but I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it.
Oh, is that NDA?
I didn't sign an NDA, but
Hmm. Has it come out?
It's not out yet. Um,
Uh,
it's
hmm.
I just did like 2 shots that were, and I got this job just through being recommended through a friend whose friend is directing
Oh.
on a popular a show that people probably know. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it.
Well, you can just. I feel like this is nebulous enough that you're
Okay.
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
you can keep it there because
It's
I don't want to get you in trouble.
okay. Yeah, I don't it's probably fine, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just leave it there. But that actually was like the most detailed character I've ever animated, where it's like there's a character who gets crushed by rubble and then pushes the rubble off of themselves, and then
Oh,
they
and you had
stand
to
up.
draw the friggin' rubble.
I drew the rubble.
Oh no.
It was only two chunks of rubble, but they I tried to draw them like volumetrically, and then this character is wearing like a costume that has like multiple like layers of fabric with patterns on them,
Oh my
and
god, did you have to draw the patterns?
yeah, I drew the patterns,
What?
and they're also covered in blood and like like their face is really like detailed, and the hair's on fire, and there's like hairpins in the hair that's on fire.
No way. That
And
is too much.
so that was a really big challenge, but after doing that I'm like, wow, I can I can draw
I could do that. Yeah.
I can draw a hard thing. Uh
But okay, is it okay for me to ask
yeah.
for any of these shots? How long did you spend animating them versus how much money did you get paid?
Okay. Very disproportionate to the amount of work put in
Yeah.
was high, and the money received was low.
Would you,
Very low.
yeah, what would like I'm trying to find a good way to ask this question. For you,
hmm
for you as yourself, I'm just asking you this question,
Yeah.
not, you know,
Yeah.
what's your biggest takeaway or the thing that motivated you to take these jobs?
I think it was the challenge and the learning opportunity,
Okay.
which ultimately the most valuable takeaway was what I learned from working on it.
Mm-hmm. And just like a feather in your cap a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and also maybe it could be a good portfolio piece later on once it's in the public. But yeah, it was mostly because I wanted to learn, and also for me because I've been trying to learn Japanese,
Mm.
learning just the names of all the different like parts of the process, and like writing out my timing sheet like in Japanese and stuff.
Oh,
Uh,
that's really cool.
that was a good fun challenge.
Do you feel like that made you more of an interesting asset for these productions that you could speak some Japanese?
It might, but in this case, there was enough people who spoke English that I didn't really have to use. I didn't really have
Okay.
to use um,
Mm,
Japanese.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be helpful if I ever wanted to like do more work in Japanese productions. And yeah.
But yeah, especially living in the US, like getting the money
hmm
working on these when you have like US expenses, I feel like it's kind of like not the
Yeah,
best deal.
it's not a great way to survive in this world currently. Um, at least well, the thing of like I think living expenses in Japan are lower than they are here.
Yeah.
Like food is overall a lot cheaper or more affordable. But yeah, it still is it would be a really hard life. Like I think I worked like a full week's worth of work got me like like $40.
Oh,
Wait, I don't
wow.
know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know.
No, you can
Okay.
because Ken also talks about the money.
Okay.
Ken in his episode talks about how it's like he got paid by the drawing and it's like $1 per drawing.
Oh, dang. I got paid by the cut by each scene I did. So the
Mm,
interesting thing is like I had one scene that was really hard and one scene that was less hard,
mm,
and much shorter, and they were worth the same pay.
hmm.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's what I heard. Oh man, that.
But
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I've heard that there's more and more foreigners doing anime because of like what you said, the challenge, feather in your cap, and just being like, oh, I worked on this thing, that's really cool.
yeah,
Um, but you can't be doing that as your main gig, pretty much, or it's very rare to be able to make
yeah,
enough money
it would
that
be
way.
hard. And I think also because like foreigners are like excited to work on anime, like I think
Mm-hmm.
they can like they can give pretty low rates and we'll do it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think unless you're a star animator, yeah, I don't think you get paid good money. And
um
so I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit, what was your how would you describe the role of the storyboard supervisor on OKK? How did you take on that role? What was your philosophy?
right. That was an interesting job. I kind of was learning on the fly like how it even worked and like what a storyboard supervisor does. Um the cool thing was that the storyboard artists did most of the work to make the story make sense.
Mm,
So it wasn't really my job to make storytelling decisions too much. It was more so to like just like make sure the board was functional.
mm-hmm.
Like in terms of like, are there enough drawings? Do the poses? If the poses get sent to the overseas studio, will they come out like making like sense in motion? Or like this background doesn't exist. We need a background.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few times though when there were like enough blank like unfigured out things in the episode that I got to kind of just do my own original storyboards and put
Mm,
my own style in there. Or there were times where like on the Sonic episode, like there was a sequence that Ian the showrunner asked me to do a cool sequence inspired by the Sonic CD animated opening.
mm-hmm.
And so I got to that scene had been boarded, but it was boarded very roughly. So then I took it and I just kind of like ran with it and tried to make it look really fun and cool.
Mm.
But a big part of that job actually was delegating to the revisionists and like going through a full episode and just seeing like, okay, what parts of this storyboard are not working and what do we
Mm.
need to do to fix that. And then the hard part for me was telling other people to do things where I was like, okay, these drawings that need to be done, you do them, and I'm not gonna do them. You do it.
Oh, do you feel like you were doing too much at first? Were you like,
Actually, I think it was just hard for me to tell people to do things. But I tried my best. I did it. Uh, yeah, like I would take a share of the drawings myself to clean up, but then it was kind of up to me like how much I took on and how much I gave like to the revisionist to do.
mm-hmm.
That was like an interesting challenge for me to think like am I giving them too much? Am I Should I give them more?
Mm.
Should I just take on this scene because it's too hard to explain what I want them to do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super great at. I mean, I've gotten a lot better at talking over the years of being an adult, but like I think I feel much more comfortable doing a drawing and not having to explain it. Um,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
why I had a really challenging time pitching.
Oh, dude, this is extremely relatable. Yeah, I think this is a good way. Yeah, let's talk about pitching. Let's talk about pitching and let's talk about so for our listeners, um, you had a project in development with Cartoon Network for quite a while. How long were you in development with them?
I first pitched it like I think in like 2015 or something. Like
Holy
I had
moly.
started coming up with this idea in 2015. I pitched to an exec and then I was given approval to do the pitch to see if they would let me make a short.
So describe how these two steps are different.
Right. Before you pitch to get your short approved for production, like I didn't have any storyboards. I just had like my characters and like drawings and a description of what the show is about.
Hmm. And how long was that document or like how many drawings like kind of tell us a little bit the amount of work that was, that very, very,
Yeah,
very first idea.
I'm trying to remember how much I did for that. I think it was like a packet of like, can't remember, like 10 pages or something of like,
Mm-hmm.
here's the world, here's the characters, here's what they look like. Here's a few examples of what could happen in an episode. But it was fairly light.
Mm.
Like I didn't have like a full series arc figured out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once I got that approval for that, I started thinking about like season, like a full season arc, how a story would be a continuous story going from like, you know, first episode to like the big climax.
Mm-hmm.
What does the character learn? Where do they start? Where do they end up?
And how do you feel like, do you feel like you had to come, like, do you feel like you had to come up with a big serialized story? Was that something that you were asked to do, or was that something that you wanted to do?
I was not asked to do that, but I wanted to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, I think they were interested in it because it was like Steven Universe. I think
Mm-hmm.
had continuous stories, and I think Cartoon Network was in this interesting phase then where they were like trying to decide what their audience would be. Would it be
Mm-hmm.
like younger or maybe older, where you could do more interesting and continuous stories? So I think they were open to that, and that's just what I thought would be fun to do. And I had like a lot of ideas I wanted to try.
Mm. And so you had that very first little pitch. That, did you do it in person? Did you pitch it to people, or did you just send an email like
I did
that?
it. I
The
did it.
10-page one.
I think I set up an appointment
Mm.
to pitch it, and then I pitched it there with like I had a meeting with an exec, and then I pitched it, and then I also brought a guitar because I had written like a song that would like
Yeah.
be in the show, and then like I performed it. So then I guess that was strong enough that they wanted to approve me to do the short pitch, the pitch to see if they would let me make a short. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
there's probably a more official word for that, but I can't remember.
Yeah, for basically, yeah, you got approved to make a pretty much a pilot.
Yeah,
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 yeah. So
yeah.
then
They're
yeah.
not called pilots because a pilot is technically the first episode of an actual series.
I see. So that's
Yeah,
why they call it a short. Yeah, that makes a lot
yeah,
of sense. Yeah, that makes
yeah,
a lot of sense.
yeah. So I got approved to make the short, or to pitch for the short, and then the short pitch was with a lot more people. Like Rob Sorcher was still the CFO. Is that the right word?
I know that he was the head of Cartoon Network,
He
let's
was
say.
the big boss man.
Yeah, he was
And
the
then
big boss, and now it's a new person. It's not
yeah,
the same person anymore.
yeah. So it was him, and then like all the other big boss people, and then I invited other artists to just so because I wanted to share it, and then also it's helpful to have a room full of people like cheering to make it seem like
And that
what.
was in person. That was before the pandemic, so it was not a Zoom meeting.
Oh my god, yeah. So
Wow.
the timing of that was it like at the very beginning of 2020, or
Oh,
maybe like the end of 2019, and then I got approval to make my short, and I was like scheduled to start working on like producing the short on was it April or March 12th or something, which was like literally right when the shutdown started.
oh my God, yeah.
It was like the week before I started working. I was getting emails that were like, "Hey, do you have everything you need to work from home?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess so. I have a computer and I have a Cintiq." And then I never went into the studio. I did the whole production of my short remotely.
Yeah, wow.
Uh,
Yeah, dude. Wow. That's so crazy. You got in there just in time.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a weird time to be making stuff, and I think I got to do a lot more with my short than I don't know. They couldn't decide how long to like have my short be. They're like, make it really short or make it longer. Like it could
Ah,
be. Don't worry about how long it is, but make it short.
how long did it end up being?
It's like 11 minutes, I think, or like 10
Yeah,
minutes and 30 seconds.
so it's like a full episode. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, pretty
yeah.
much. Yeah, this is actually the first time I've spoken about it like publicly. If
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't like share it. I didn't share the fact that I was working on it like on social media or anything.
Wow, you heard it here first, fam.
Yeah, and I don't know what's gonna happen to it. I don't know if they're ever going to release it. But I spent like 7 years like imagining stories with these characters over and over again. Yeah, it was very fun. I learned a lot about myself as an artist through the process, and it also kind of drove me crazy, like trying to like
yeah, because you were doing it all on your own too. Like, did you have a group that you could share it with, or like people that you could talk to about it, or were you just like in your head about
I had some people to work on it. Actually on my short, I was working with one other artist they hired to be like I don't know what, I always forget the official title, but like, do you know Alonso Ramirez?
I don't think I do.
Alonso, he's a friend of mine from school and from just, he's a great guy. He was working at Disney, and he also had a contract with Cartoon Network for a while, and then he was kind of paired with me to help me make my short. So it was super, super helpful to have him to talk to, and like,
so you're not just by yourself.
Yeah. So that helped a lot. But yeah, it was I faced a lot of the kind of personal, like, existential, like, challenge of being creative in a vacuum, especially during COVID times.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I learned a lot.
That's so crazy. Yeah, and so can you talk a little bit about what the different milestones were like in that development process? So you're doing a short, so you pitched it with your first little 10 pages, and then you did a bigger pitch for what the short would be like, and then did they send you in production right away, or did they want to see more? Did they want to see a storyboard? What did they want to see?
Right. So the pitch I did for to get the short approved was with a storyboard that I had boarded.
Okay.
And so like I actually boarded like a full like storyboard, like my pitch for my short, and I pitched that to like a smaller group of people. Like there were two, like the head of shorts and the development executive that I originally pitched to, and actually that pitch did not go very well.
Oh, really?
So I just reboarded the whole thing, like with a different like tone.
Was the tone just what was the tone, too comedy, too sad?
I think it was too goofy. The first one I did was too goofy.
Interesting. Huh.
So I tried to board something that was a little bit more, it got more to the core of the story I was trying to tell, which was a story about, like, you know, self-esteem, coming of age, a character who has insecurities, who goes on a magical adventure, and learns how to be themselves. I'm being very vague. With most stories are about that anyway. But I did another version of it, which is the version that got approved. So yeah, the exec pitch, the big pitch was like me pitching my storyboards, like the way that I was used to from being a storyboard artist on Steven Universe.
Right.
Where it's like I have all my boards and I just go through them one by one and be like, and then this character goes over here, and then they say this, and then they open the door, and then there's a big surprise monster behind the door, and the monster's like, rah.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I was doing that, but like in front of a bunch of like people I'd never talked to, which is really stressful actually.
Yeah.
But I had I had music that I had written for it too, so that I could play it, and like that helped me feel a little bit more confident. Yeah, okay, so then that board got approved. I went into production on making the short, and I had notes on my board that I had pitched to the exec. I was trying to adjust the notes by like doing revisions, adding scenes, taking scenes out. It was very confusing because I would get notes that I wasn't sure if I had to like apply or not, and one of the notes I got once was like I don't think we need this big musical sequence at the end. And I was like, wait, that's the whole point. That's why I'm making this. I was like, do I have to not put it? Do I have to take it out?
I think what you're saying is really true. I feel like when you get in development and you start getting notes, there's a moment when you need to be able to say like, oh, but this is my like this is the heart of my show. This is what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and this is why I'm keeping this thing. And that's really hard because I feel like I don't know. I feel like that comes with like a certain like you as a person you need to have a certain sense of like self to be able
Yes.
to say this is what I'm doing and these are all the reason and use all the fun words like and it's gonna be great and it's gonna work because of this and I'm doing this thing because it's aspirational in this and that and all the words that they love and then they're like I get it, you know, but it's really hard like you said to say the right words when all of you've done your entire life is raw.
Yeah, I had to learn how to communicate more through my words, which I think I honestly I probably have more room to grow on that on that front. There was basically just a long period of getting notes on my storyboard before we got to move into like picking a studio to produce it or to animate it
Mm-hmm.
or picking voice actors and designers and stuff. But eventually I got there, and that was actually really fun. It was feeling like you got to practice being a showrunner for a while, being like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna like tell all these art. I got to pick like a cool team of artists that I really like, and I want to like I'm picking them because I think their styles work with what I want to do.
Right.
And like you get to kind of practice being showrunner, even though oh yeah, like I don't know, did we say this? Like spoilers, my show got dropped from production or from development.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good practice. It was a good experience.
Yeah, I think that's what's and you spent so much time too. Like you said, like pretty much 7 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
Working
that was,
on it.
and over the course of that I like reimagined it like a million times, like or not a million times but like like I had different like plot structures that I was like kind of like going through. I originally was trying to make a series, but then at some point HBO or Cartoon Network decided that they wanted to make long forms, which are basically like movies. um,
Mm-hmm.
so I tried to adapt my story into like a single movie kind of style story, and that was really hard for me because I had a lot that I wanted to have my characters like go through and grow through.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like trying to do world building really quickly.
Yeah.
If I was able to make my show or make my movie or my long form or whatever it would have been, like it would be like this is the first time you're ever seeing these characters, and they're doing like a really exciting big adventure thing that is such a great exciting time to watch. It's like a lot to establish at first because I think my sensibility about storytelling I think comes from like a slow build where it's like
Yeah.
you meet the characters and life is like normal and like this is what their life is like when it's normal, and then like something weird happens and then it progressively gets weirder and weirder and more exciting and crazy, and then suddenly everything changes and you're like whoa. Like that's my sense of what a fun story arc
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
But to just be like all right, buckle in, you're gonna watch something you've never seen before and it's gonna be amazing the whole time. Like
Yeah, I feel like that's why I've been telling that's what I've been telling some of my friends now. I'm like, I feel like now I don't I'm like leaning away from pitching high concept shows like with sci-fi or fantasy or anything that's like anything else in our real world because like you said it's so much to set up in the pilot. It's so hard. Now I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna pitch suburban shows where you know what it is. You know, you don't
yeah.
have to explain a lot. You can just focus on the characters.
Yeah, that I'm sure that helps.
But it kind of sucks when you're like, you know, you grew up with video games and like all of the worlds that you kind of live in are all like fantastical and crazy and cool, you know, and like
Yeah.
yeah, it is a lot. Pilots are tough. They're like so tough. Because you have to put in so much. You have to put in all the characters, the worlds, the arc. You have to hint at like a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's like a lot of information to just put in like a little
hmm
one thing.
Yeah, and you have to convince people that like it's worth spending money on to like go ahead and produce it.
Yeah.
That's I feel like I'm much better at just making animation than I am at convincing people that they should let me make it.
Oh, 100%. Dude, I had that exact same thought. I was like, I should just make the things. That's literally why I do comics, is because I'm like, I can just draw it. Animation, I don't have your patience. Like, you're extremely patient. Because you do animation and music that take a lot of time and like of redoing over and over again. But for me, I'm just like, if I do the comic, there's a story, there's the art, and it's done fast. And people can read it.
Well, there's different types of patience. I think I think it takes a ton of patience to do what you're doing, which is to just like power through like multiple chapters of the same story and like write it and stuff. That's also hard.
It's true, but I don't know. I feel like I get a more immediate result than like, you know what I mean? Like animation is like
animation is very very slow. It is true.
Yeah.
True. I'm drawing, by the way. One of the prompts was draw my favorite Digimon, which I don't actually know what my favorite Digimon is, but this is the one that I drew for that Digimon job I did, called Angoramon.
Ah, he's so cute.
If you don't have one, can you draw Angoramon from Ghost Game? Which is interesting because that is the character that I drew for Ghost Game.
That is so cool.
I am cheating by using reference, but
we all are. And then I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your supervising directing role, because that's what you were doing on Adventure Time.
Yes.
We come full circle. You didn't make the test, but then you were directing on it. So
yeah. So I did that kind of like in between working on my short. I think it was the fall of 2020. Yeah, it was the fall of 2020. Like I had started working on my short, and then the opportunity to do the supervising directing job on Adventure Time came up. So I said no at first because I didn't think I had the mental strength to do my short and supervising. But I finally accepted the job, and that was kind of similar to what I was doing as a storyboard supervisor, where it was like just like keeping track of a lot of technical decisions that had to get made to make the series or to make the production work. I got introduced to retakes, which is the first time I'd ever done retakes.
Oh, you mean post, like after animation comes back? Yeah.
Yes, like I had never really seen that side of the process, and it was very eye-opening to me to see like what happens after boarding. And also design breakdown meetings. I had never done that before.
Oh, you weren't going to design breakdowns on KO?
I think oh wait, I did do this on KO. What am I talking about? KO was the first time I'd done it, but it kind of just felt like a whole different experience because we were doing it remotely.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It's very challenging, especially on a design heavy show like Adventure Time, where there's just like a ton of different like funny like little designs, like, different characters, props and stuff. Like just trying to keep track of everything is pretty challenging.
Yeah,
it really makes you think like there's just so many decisions that have to get made to make animation happen, even beyond like the story making sense. It's like once the storyboard is drawn, then there still is just so many decisions that have to get made. When the rain is falling, how many types of highlights are there going to be in the reflection of the rain? And like, are there going to be drops of like little raindrops on the character's head falling on the character's head? In this scene, they have them in this scene, but in this scene we don't need them, or whatever. Like, just like stuff like that. It gets really
like nitty gritty.
Nitty gritty is the right word. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the level of like detail and stuff that you want to get on your definitely on your show. Yeah. It's really interesting. What would you say is like a typical week or like as a supervising director?
Yeah, that was it was interesting because it was very varied. Like I think there was like a number of roles that the showrunner took on responsibility for, and then my job was kind of just catching everything else that like still needed to get done. So that could be a whole number of things. Like sometimes it was kind of like doing storyboard supervising type things where I was like helping like pick out revisions that needed to be drawn to the storyboard. There were times where I was like at the voice records and like giving notes to the voice actors and stuff.
Oh, wow.
That was really interesting because like I didn't have a lot of experience with that. Design meetings, I did. It was kind of just like you have to be a supervising director. You just have to know how to do most things in a production, and just be like able to like make an executive like decision of like, okay, let's do this with this, and then like because everyone was just waiting for someone to be like, what are we doing with this? And you're like, let's do this unless the showrunner wants something else, and then we'll do that. But if the showrunner doesn't have something else to say, then we're doing what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's very on point. Like what the role is. You're like,
yeah, you have to be very flexible.
Yeah, like the second in command, pretty much. That's very cool. I kind of want to talk about you doing music, and I think I can use whenever listeners' questions to ask this question.
Okay.
So we're gonna go into the question part of the episode now. Ooh, we had a lot of questions from our patrons and from YouTube. That's really cool.
Oh, cool.
We'll wait a little bit for music, but on YouTube at Sebia_carbonate asked, how do you keep the other storyboard artists in line?
In line? What is that? I'm not sure what that means exactly.
I don't know either. I think it's kind of funny where you're like, you're not doing it right. Do it again.
Are you talking about like as a storyboard supervisor?
I guess so. How do you keep the other storyboard artists in line? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, as a storyboard supervisor, I was just like super excited to receive the boards from the board artists, and like they don't have time for me to tell them what to do because they're often boarding the next episode. So like, I'm just there to kind of fill in the blanks of what they couldn't finish.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny. You don't have to.
It's absolutely not. It was absolutely not my my responsibility to keep anyone in line as a storyboard artist. It was mostly like I was the one that needed, like we were like the board artists themselves probably need to be kept in line by the showrunner and the. Well, I guess the closest thing to like
production maybe. You would do that.
Yeah, like, hey, like, don't do that many designs. We can't do that many. Or like, hey, if you have this background, please reuse the background that already exists instead of drawing it again, just slightly different from the one that already exists. Which is hard because sometimes, like, you have a certain sort of camera, like rhythm that you want to use that doesn't really work with the stock BGs.
Yeah.
I didn't keep anyone in line. That wasn't my prerogative.
No, that's why I asked the question. I thought that was kind of funny. Oh, because we were talking about anime a little bit.
Yeah.
From YouTube at Enosp6378. Why can't more American animated shows have more detailed drawings with more limited animation like Japan?
That's a good question. It's because I think the work ethic culturally is very different over there. I think just overall society in general, everyone works like a lot more meticulously on things, and they're willing to do it and not be treated well.
Yeah.
Like I think seeing what we have here with like our union and stuff, it's amazing. Like, you know, currently there's a strike going on
with the writers.
The writer strike, and I see a lot of the animation guild members are like supporting them right now, and you know, like speaking up for us to be treated with fairer wages and fair just like treatment as employees, as humans. And I think that's super awesome, but I don't think they really have that in Japan. So I think a lot of the labor that goes into making those beautiful drawings is just really at the sacrifice of the artists giving so much of themselves. That, and they have a really like I mentioned before, a really like multi-tiered like pipeline for producing animation. Like I mentioned, the Genga process. Like if you check out those videos that V and I mentioned, you might get a sense of like all the steps it takes to make anime. But when you have people like overseeing a production like at every step of the way. Like I think you have these very talented directors at the top that are kind of like just keeping everything consistent and making sure that it gets produced. I think that allows it to be that detailed and difficult to draw, but that's not because it's easy.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. A lot of it is like, for anybody listening to this, definitely I want you guys to check out. There's a project. Oh shoot, I need to remember it. I think it's called the Animators Dormitory or something.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah, because the problem in Japan in anime right now is that it's so difficult and the pay is so low that when you're starting and you're not as good as your peers who have been working for a while. So somebody who's been working for 6 years, they know how to draw a lot faster, a lot better. They know a lot more of the tricks. Whereas when you just get in, you're not as fast. There's like a little bit of a learning curve. And so these fresh animators, they're not fast enough yet because they're just learning to make enough money to survive. So there's this project, it's not a Kickstarter. Is it a Kickstarter? Do they do Kickstarter, or is it like a Patreon? If you Google Animator Dormitory, I think that's the name of it. You'll find a little bit of like what goes on behind the scenes and how they're trying to train new artists. But right now, it's too difficult for people who don't have experience to just get in because of the economical reality of like paying rent and food. From Claude's. Have you ever thought of creating your own show? I think we kind of answered this question.
We kind of did. Yes, the answer is yes. I did think about it for 7 years. Thought about it a lot. And I still would like to make my own thing. I'm currently working on a new thing that I don't know what form it will take. I'm going to try to make it more on my own.
Oh, nice.
Because like I think where I excel most as an artist is just making stuff and not I probably could give the studio system like another go because I learned a lot, but it was really challenging for me to get business people on my side. Yeah, so I have actually I drew this character on the Jamboard is from a project that I've been working on, and I'm currently just doing like doodles, and I'm trying to fill a whole notebook full of like story ideas.
Wow, like, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's been really liberating for me because the whole process of making my short and then ultimately it being passed on, it really challenged my sense of creativeness, like my sense of my artistic identity. I was like, oh man, it was kind of like getting rejected from Pixar again. Yes. So I've been looking at my life like I'm going through these cycles of like the same kind of like, oh, I've been here before, but it's just like on a different scale, like a much bigger version of that same sad feeling I had when I was like, oh, they don't like me.
No, it's true. And I think that's something that's really important too to know about this industry is that there's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of no. There's a lot of like, you're not going to get what you want. There's a lot of times being misunderstood. That's something that I struggle with a lot when I pitch a thing and people are like, oh, I don't get it. And I'm just like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, we're speaking the same language. We're using the same words. What is it that there's like a level of that's really tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. From our patrons, Joe Benson. Hey, Joe. Were there any fight scenes you or some storyboard artists wanted in the series but was cut? I'm guessing he's talking about Steven Universe.
Oh, fight scenes that I wanted that were cut. I don't think so. I think all the action or fight scenes that I worked on were like, yeah, they're in there.
I agree. I feel like it depends on the show, but I feel like it's kind of Oh, maybe because of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's like a couple of times where people were like, "Oh, I drew this whole fight scene, but it got cut." But like I think it's because the
Oh,
episodes were just too long. But I
I see.
guess, yeah.
I don't think I've had sequences that were like I think cut, but it's never been on that kind of like I I spent a bazillion years on this thing and it's gone. Yeah, I don't know the story with the turtle stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's just like sometimes there's like a couple of like tweets that I've seen of like, oh, like this didn't make the cut. But that's cool to hear that all of your stuff made it in. I feel like for me as well, in TV, most of my stuff made it in. There's not a lot of stuff that gets cut. From Dandiest, so as you have guessed from the prompt, from the drawing prompt, they saw your name in the credits of anime recently, Digimon Ghost Game,
Oh, okay.
and did we say yes to that? What was the experience like? I guess we kind of answered that. Maybe you can talk a little bit about like what was it like working with Toei versus David Pro?
um I didn't work with them directly, which
Mm.
I wish I could answer that question because I wanted to know as well. I'm drawing. David Productions. I mean, they gave us different materials to work with, which was interesting. Like I got different like levels of detail in the storyboards. Like the storyboards for Digimon were actually very very rough, and then the ones for Urusei Yatsura were more figured out. So it was interesting to see kind of like every production's at a different level of completeness,
Yeah.
depending on which stage of yeah, like once stuff gets sent over to be animated, you might have a great board, or you might have a board that like has a description of what's supposed to happen and then the scribble, um, which is usually what the storyboard supervisor. My role as storyboard supervisor was to make sure that like we didn't have that situation where
Mm.
the board is just a scribble. But
Mhm.
I think sometimes like productions just going at a really fast pace and there's not enough time, and it just has to get made anyway.
Yeah.
It happens.
I heard that a regular show sometimes had done that. Like that they had sent like boards that were kind of scribbly, and one time they were like the overseas animation studio was like, we don't really know what this drawing is, and then everybody like looked at it and they were like, oh, sorry, we don't know what this drawing is either.
I could see that.
Maybe in the context it made sense, but by itself it was just kind of like
Yeah. Yeah. It is cool. It is cool to see the if you ever do work on an anime production, if they send you the materials like storyboards and designs and backgrounds and stuff, it's like it's just really cool to see the stuff that they put into that, because they're just so good at drawing. It's really inspiring to see.
yeah.
I don't know if that is that a good answer.
I think so. I
Okay,
think
okay.
no, yeah. It's like really interesting.
I want to talk more about the most recent job I did, but I'll I'll restrain myself.
Yeah, when it comes out, we'll have you on Twitter Spaces and you'll talk all
Okay,
about it.
I'll talk about it again.
That'll be so fun. I'm trying to kind of bundle all the music questions together, so you can kind of talk a lot more about music.
Okay.
So, it's kind of cool because we have a patron, brother to drummer, who's a musician. He, or at least plays music. So he did ask, does music play any role in your creative process? Do you have any style of music or playlist that gets your creative juices flowing?
Oh, music is a huge part of my creative process. I really love every different style of music. What? Yeah, what gets my creative? Did you say creative juices?
Yeah.
My juices. What gets my juices flowing? It's actually kind of just like the excitement when I hear something I've never heard before.
Mm.
I just love hearing like new things. Like recently, so this new project I'm working on, this character I'm drawing, I'm taking some inspiration from like Rubber Hose cartoons. So there's the style of Dixieland jazz that I really like. Like all the kind of old cartoons have that. A lot of the old cartoons have this kind of fun, really happy brass, and I have this banjo here. This banjo for some reason is. Anyway,
that music, you guys heard it live on Creative Block. Jeff is friggin' amazing. You're such a like talented musician.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no, and I think you know what, I kind of want to like jump on that other question that was about how from Instagram the animation lovers ask how did you get into music.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't also do a great job of answering that question because I don't only listen to like funny banjo music. I also really like I just like anything with the guitar. Like I love rock. I love indie
I know
rock.
you were listening to a lot of metal. There was a moment when we were hanging out and you were listening to a bunch of metal. That was kind of, but because metal, like metal guitar players are friggin' insane. They're like extremely technical.
Yeah, I love metal too. I was trying to, what's some good metal? I had a playlist of metal I was into. There's this one band I really liked. What were they called? Gojira.
Oh, Gojira. Wait, they're French.
They are French, yeah.
They're French, yeah. I remember that. I was listening to them in high school. That's crazy.
They have this album called From Mars to Sirius, which is like it's about these like the environmentalism and like
yes, yeah.
It's about like these giant flying whales. It's pretty dope. They're cool. I also like jazz. I really love this band called the Beths. They're like that's what's getting my juices flowing. My creative juices flowing lately. The Beths. They're from New Zealand and they have just like awesome like punk rock, high energy songs with really just incredible songwriting. Like the singer, she writes the lyrics and she sings them, and like they're just so awesome. I saw them in San Francisco. That was cool. Oh, well, and okay, I answered some of what music I like.
Yes.
And then what got me into music was actually I started using GarageBand at the end of high school. Like I always wanted to okay, this goes back to the banjo. I always wanted to play the guitar, but I just didn't think I was like cool enough or something. Like I don't know what the deal was. Like I had this idea that like, oh, other people have already been playing the guitar, so if I start playing it now, I'll be like a poser. I'm like copying them or something. But there was this like career day event at my high school. I think this was my senior year of high school, and one of the so people were coming to talk about the careers, like fireman. I'm a businessman. I do businesses. One guy was the president of the banjo club, which is the East Bay Banjo Club, which
so funny.
Was like nearby. So me and my friends went and they were excited. Like everyone there is like seniors basically. And so
they were like, the youth is here, finally.
Yeah. They gave me and my friends some lessons. So like that was my first instrument I really learned to play. This one.
That's crazy because I thought you came to banjo just recently. I didn't know that was how you got in.
This was before I played the guitar.
Wow.
I actually played piano like growing up, but I like didn't understand what music was. It wasn't fun for me. It was just like this exercise of like learning a bunch of rules that I had to follow, and I had opportunities to do it wrong, which made me feel bad. So I didn't understand like what feeling. They were like, play with feeling, and I'd be like, what? Like play it louder, or like what does that mean? Like I didn't understand what emotions were. But then like as a teenager in high school, I learned like, oh, I love music. I love there was a band I really liked called the Aquabats.
Oh yeah, they're fun.
Yeah. And just like all kinds of different music, because it's like music is like different genres and different styles. It's like a portal into like whole different worlds of culture and different styles, different histories, different places where the music's from, the people who make it. It's like you really get to just, you know, appreciate life, and it sounds cool, and it makes you feel emotions when you listen. Just rambling about why music's cool. But yeah, like I never like picked up the guitar until after I picked up the banjo, but then I slowly was like, wait, I can play the guitar, it's fine.
No one's gonna judge me for it. It's
Yeah. But so I went to Cal Arts for animation, and I was just kind of making little silly things in GarageBand on the side. And I think because I didn't care about being any good at it, I was able to just make stuff very sincerely. And I made like a lot, to the point that I was like, oh, actually I learned some music theory, and I learned how to like record and make a song. So that's, I think, something, there's a big lesson there in like not caring about being good at what you're doing and just having fun with it. But then I started like I started caring about music, and I stopped making as much. I got good enough that I'm like, oh, I'm actually kind of good, and now I like don't make as much because I care about being good.
Oh yeah.
So that's,
you're not just kind of good, that's the crazy thing. You're very talented, very technical in the things that you play.
Thank you.
No, but I mean, I say that because I've heard you jam with, I forget who I heard you jam with, but you can play an instrument the way you could just talk for somebody who's doing improv. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I play with Louis Zong every now and then, and like he and I both really like to improvise. So that's, yeah, it does feel like that point where you're trying to just like talk, and like it's not really like you're thinking about notes anymore. You're just like, what's a good thing to say here, and then you just say like, and you're like, and you know, like it's like you're having a conversation or something.
Exactly. You're like kind of picking up on tone and rhythm.
Yeah.
That's pretty freaking awesome. Since we're talking about like jamming and coming up with things on the spot and stuff like that, there's a question that I think is really fun. Let me see if I can find it.
I just realized I haven't been drawing.
No, you're totally good. This is the acoustic drawing. Okay, let's just ask this one from YouTube at Saku Naruful. What's your process for creating songs? And somebody asked somewhere, I did not make this up, how'd you come up with guitar riffs?
Okay. That's a good question. It's different every time I make something. Sometimes I think of like a cool chord progression where I'm just like, you know, I'm just like, oh, I like that. And then I'll just try to think of like, what can I play with that? So that's like chords first, then I kind of just made up a melody, and then I might be like, okay, what are the words that go with this? Like, what did I play? What did I just play? I can't remember. What am I trying to say? You know, like,
yeah.
Add words to it like that. Sometimes I write the words first, and then I try to think of like, okay, what kind of mood is this song that I just wrote. I call it, it's just poetry basically. You just write some poetry and just write a bunch of words down and try to find chords that match the feeling of the words. I heard a really cool method that the musician Yeji uses. She's a really cool producer and songwriter, where she'll think of like rhythms that she wants to sing, and she doesn't really have words to the rhythms until she's like trying to fill in the blanks of like ba 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 da da ba, and she's like, okay, I'll put something like, I want to eat a I want to eat some corn. That's really silly. But yeah, all sorts of different approaches. I like don't really have a. Every time I make something, I feel like I'm kind of just making it up from the like as if it's the first time I've ever made anything. I think also because I work in so many different types of art, like it's easy to kind of just like not remember what I did last time. So I'm just like, all right, time to make something new. What am I trying to say? How do I say it? Yeah.
That's really cool. That is, yeah. I think that's just so cool that you can just, it's cool that you could just kind of tap into the feeling and like kind of follow your intuition a little bit and make something with that,
Yeah, I try my best.
We had some great questions from @Bryce_Lavender, from @Mallet_Art, and from @_Limix_. I am gonna wrap up this interview with that last question from Limix because I think it's really, really cool. What would you tell your younger self, baby Jeff, when they decided to pursue a career in animation?
Man, that's a good question, because it's like what would I tell myself? Like, why? Like, what intention do I have to talk to myself in the past? Would it be like, hey man, it's gonna be cool. You're gonna make some cool stuff. I think I'm the type of person who has like grown up with a lot of self-doubt, and I think my whole experience with doing art has been like me trying to grow out of that and feel like, oh wait, I can actually do stuff. I think I'm at the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I can do stuff. And I think it's kind of funny like how long it's taken for me to even think like, yeah, it's okay, you can do stuff, don't worry about it. Yeah, I think I spent a lot of time in my younger days as an artist like overthinking myself, and like it's really like thinking too much about what you're making is really a huge obstacle to getting it done. And I think the best way to get better at what you're trying to do is just to do a lot of it. Just keep doing it, like doing it so much that you don't even have to think about it anymore.
Yes.
It's kind of like language or even just like walking. Like you don't think about like when you're walking down the street like, okay, I gotta put my right foot here, and then I'll put my weight on it, and then I'm gonna almost like I fall over, but then I use my left foot and then I catch myself before I fall over. Like you don't think about all the like the complex physical things that are happening when you walk, but you can just do it and you don't think about it. Or like you don't think about grammar, where you're like, okay, so this is a noun, this is a verb, whatever. Like you don't think about that stuff, you just say and express things. And I think the goal for me with art is to get to the point where I'm just like saying stuff without thinking so much about the nitty-gritty. But the thing, it just takes way longer to draw a picture than it does to just have a thought and say it, or to just be like play a note on a guitar. So I think it really allows artists to get lost in their heads.
Yes.
I think most people can relate to that. So I would try to encourage my younger self to not get so anxious, but then the whole time travel paradox like comes to mind, where it's like, if I was telling this to myself, does that mean that I have the memory of being told this from myself in the present, from back then? And what, like, it clearly didn't work because I still went through all this time of being anxious and not overthinking things.
They said if.
Yeah, because it didn't happen. Yeah.
Spoiler alert, everyone listening. Jeff did not actually go back in time and talk to his baby self in the crib. He's always been on this timeline.
I would like to think that even if I was able to go back in time and tell myself not to be anxious, I still would be anxious because that's just like the way the human brain is.
I feel like if you're a human being and there's the older version of you staring back at you in the crib, a part of your brain must know that you're in the uncanny valley of looking at yourself. And so that creates the anxiety. Maybe you did visit yourself.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm so anxious, because I saw the truth of my life from the future.
You said, "Baby Jeff, it's gonna be okay," and baby
Jeff, you're gonna experience a complex sequence of events that will make you feel all sorts of mature feelings. And I'm like, I'm just a baby. I don't want to think about that.
Well, just like adult Jeff going back in this current timeline to be the current... I don't know. I'm so terrible at segues. Every time when Sean is on the show, he's so good, and I'm like, please. And now I'm like relying on him to end all the episodes.
You gotta don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Like,
just like adult Jeff riding into the sunset of the multiple timeline verses. This is the end of this creative block timeline. It's such a... I can't... it is what it is, y'all. That's the end of this creative block, Jeff. Thanks for being our guest and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate being given the chance to just kind of like talk about what's going on, and like I was listening to all those other interviews with other artists on the podcast, and I'm like, wow, these people are all so cool, and like I feel like, oh wait, I'm like one of these people.
You are one of these people. You've done so much, and you're not... It's not only that you're talented, but it's also that you have the experience, and you have a lot of insight, and you've worked on a lot of different productions, like, and internationally too, which makes you like a really... Like, that was such an interesting episode, like listening about like working in anime and Western cartoons and storyboarding and animating and all that.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks also to our listeners who asked some amazing questions from all the different platforms. I can't believe y'all are engaging with us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and oh shoot, we forgot to ask a question that we got through email. That was really, really cute and amazing. Let's just ask it real fast. From Grace Rolek, who is the voice of Connie.
Oh yeah,
from Steven Universe.
Hi, Grace.
Jeff, do you have a favorite Steven Universe character to draw?
Oh. It's definitely Connie Maheshwaran.
That was so cute.
Let's see if I can draw her really fast.
Thanks, Grace, for reaching out to us in email. I thought that was really, really fun and cute. So, yeah, we ask on all these different social media platforms for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to your editor Clemens for editing the podcast, and Marco for helping us produce the show. If you love our show, then support us on Patreon. Becoming a patron gets you early access to interviews as well as bonus episodes. We're also thinking about doing a little bit rebranding of the Patreon so you get more stuff, because right now we are releasing the episodes early, so that's like the main perk, and you have access to the Discord, which is really fun. Our patrons are really, really nice. You should come and hang out with us, and it helps us pay for things like Zoom and Google Drive, and help us pay our amazing editor and producer. Another way you can support the show, if paying money, I understand sometimes that's a little tough, please consider supporting us by interacting with our post. You can share, like, comment, bookmark, tell your friends about us. I think these are all amazing, great ways for you guys to support the show. So, even, and, subscribe. If you've been around, if you've listened to us, even if it's just 2 episodes, just subscribe. Click the link in the description of this episode for the Patreon and our other social media. I have been your host, V, keeping creative, and we'll see you next week.